The James Show Podcast.
Let's have a serious chat here about this whole better safe than sorry garbage that I think we've taken this too far. And this shows up all over our society in 2025 here. And I'm going to focus on this tsunami thing, but this sort of mindset counts for helicopter parenting and scaring the crap out of kids about, leaving the front yard because it's just so full of predators or whatnot. This same mindset could be applied to the gun control argument. It saves one life. We gotta have a right to shut up. This better safe than sorry is not good. And in some ways, it could be worse than just being reckless. Better safe than sorry. The tsunami warnings that were on my phone last night, and now I have the alerts turned off. But if I go into apps, if I go to Facebook, if I go to X, if I go to Instagram, if I go to any of these platforms, I am subscribed. I do follow a bunch of news accounts, and they were just all super duper hyped up about this tsunami last night. And you were being told, if you were paying attention to your phone, that there's been tsunami warnings issued all up and down the West Coast, y'all. There's big tsunami warning in Hawaii. Look at the traffic. They're all trying to get to higher ground. Now, not all tsunami warnings are wrong. I remember there's a big bad tsunami in Indonesia in 2007 or something, 2004. Is that when that was? That makes sense. There was the Fukushima. There was a tsunami that happened in Japan that knocked out that nuclear facility. So there is such thing as a legit tsunami warning. But I got to tell you, last night seemed to be overhyped. Before I play you some of the audio here that just came down, and I'm not blaming WFAA, I'm not blaming any local news outlet. They are only passing along the hyperbole and the sensational reporting that they're getting. I do not blame them one bit. But when I tell you what the result of the tsunami was just a few hours after this audio I'm about to play for you, you're going to have a hard time not crashing your car into the nearest barrier. Because, look, to be fair, it was one of the world's strongest earthquakes. There's only a few earthquakes ever measured that are stronger. 8.8 magnitude. Okay. That sounds like there could be big tsunami waves. You can't blame them for getting a little worked up here. But what did it result in? After all these cars jammed the highways in Russia, in Japan, in Hawaii, what happened? Well, the Oregon Department of Emergency Management said on Facebook that small tsunami waves were expected along the coast starting around 11:40 p.m. local time. That was last night. And the heights between 1 to 2 feet. 1 to 2 feet! Oh, my God! We're all going to die! Stop it. Stop it. When you look at the results of these tsunamis and what happened when they hit land, they're saying just ridiculous things. They were calling that a tsunami wave. It's a small tsunami wave. No, 1 to 2 feet. You can't call it a tsunami wave anymore. I make a bigger wave when I do a cannonball in the deep end of my sister's pool. Tsunami wave. Stop it. You're embarrassing. So there's people out there who will say, well, no harm, no foul, James. At least no one got hurt. What's your complaint here? Well, how many people had their lives disrupted? How many people jumped in their cars and they had to go stand in the highway and highways were blocked? There might have been someone who had a heart attack and the ambulance couldn't get through to save their life because of all the fake traffic that was overhyped that shouldn't have happened. There's all these people who, that there's time and resources and opportunity cost to all of this. It wasn't a harmless, well, it was just an alert and we wanted to be better safe than sorry. But the real pain isn't going to be seen here. When you have false alarms like this, people start ignoring evacuation orders. That's one of the problems that happened in Katrina is they tell you to evacuate. None of the storms ever turn out to be worth a, diddly. And so the one time you need to evacuate, no one listens because the boy had cried wolf too many times. Now that you know the waves that were hitting Oregon, 1 to 2 feet. What about the waves that were hitting Los Angeles? Oh, it was like 8 inches tall. It was a catastrophe. Listen to how this was reported. And again, I'm going to say this again because I don't want to get any emails about this. I am not blaming WFAA. They are just passing along information that they reasonably believe is true. Whoever's coming up with these hyped up stories and these little scary tactics to get news to report on it, we need to have a chat with those people. But this was last night, right before it happened.
Breaking news tonight. A powerful earthquake has triggered tsunami warnings and watches all across the world, including in parts of the U.S.
So here is a better look at where this is all happening tonight. The 8.8 magnitude earthquake struck Russia earlier. Japan is under a tsunami warning, as is the entire state of Hawaii. The entire West Coast and part of Alaska are all under watches right now.
Cole Sullivan is following the latest from our newsroom. And Cole, there is a lot of information coming in right now.
And Teresa, the bottom line is this was one of the world's strongest earthquakes on record. And that's what's triggered all these tsunami alerts. It happened off the coast of Russia, and now parts of the west coast of the United States are under a tsunami watch. This is a picture from Japan, a live
Tsunami
picture
watch.
where the first waves have already hit. The Japan Meteorological Agency says the waves are only about a foot high, but we talked about just how big this earthquake is. For comparison,
hang on.
this
Before
was
we
an
get to
that,
let me stop you there, Scooter. You're calling a tsunami wave 1 foot tall? You can't call it a tsunami wave if it's only 1 foot tall. If it's big enough, if it's small enough to fit in my bathtub, it's not a tsunami. How about that? If you get bigger waves in the shallow end of the pool after Uncle James does a cannonball, it's not. Stop calling it a tsunami. What the hell are we having warnings for 1 foot waves? Don't 1 foot waves hit the beach every night? Like, is this one of the most overhyped stories possible? 1 to 2 feet waves. I figured that was normal. I've been to Galveston. Yeah, I've seen waves on just a regular old, what was last night? Tuesday night. Would you even know there was a tsunami coming if you people didn't tell us? Would anyone on the beach have noticed? You have the Oregon Department of Emergency Management urge people to stay away from the beaches, the harbors, and the marinas, to remain in a safe location away from the coast until the advisory is lifted. Shut up. A 1 foot wave. I've got to stay away from the beach from a normal sized wave. It's this overhyping that's going to get people killed. You don't cry wolf all the time. If you do this, your warnings will mean nothing. One day there's going to be a real tsunami, and the people that were evacuating last night aren't going to do it again because you have lied to their face and overhyped it so many times. This is getting people killed. And think about Kerrville. People want to put up more sirens everywhere and have them go off more often. Why? So we can ignore them? That's not smart. We've gone way too far in the better safe than sorry. Let me continue a little bit more with some of the coverage last night. Now, this is before the waves came and hit, and I'll just remind you how little the waves were.
Magnitude quake. The tsunami that set off the nuclear meltdown at Fukushima in Japan in 2011 was a 9.0. And that's the sound of the emergency sirens in Honolulu going off at this hour. The entire state of Hawaii is under a tsunami warning and could face damage, the National Weather Service says. We've heard from people stuck in gridlock traffic.
Let's talk what you hear the sirens, you hear the dire warnings. Sounds like the apocalypse is on its way. In the Alaskan communities that were hit, because they were closer to the origin of the earthquake, the 8.8 on the scale earthquake that hit last night and started the air quote tsunami, they got less than a foot above regular tide levels in the Aleutian Islands of Alaska. Less than a foot. In Japan, the highest I saw reported, 2 feet. Around Tokyo Bay, 5 hours after the quake, they had a giant tsunami wave of 8 inches. Yes. Now, I'm told 8 inches is absolutely gigantic, but I don't think that applies to tsunami waves. We've got to stop this, or we're wasting all this time and effort on these warning systems if you're going to overuse them like this. This is Scott in Little Elm. You're on WBAP.
Yeah, good afternoon. I was, they had me on the hook for just a little bit. They had the egghead on from USC on Fox last night for about 10 minutes saying that everything west of Las Vegas could be wiped out.
Shut up. I didn't see that.
Yeah, he was on for about 10 minutes. His head was, my head sort of looks like it. The guy they had on and I were both bald. His head was more shaped like an egg than mine is. And it's like, all right, you have my attention for about 10 minutes. But I was thinking the bigger problem would be, what would they do about the flag? Do you realize how many flags they would have to change if we lost a state?
Oh, well, I think we wouldn't take away their star. We would just... The water would recede and California would return. I don't think, even if it fell off the San Andreas Fault, most of California would still be there. So I don't think you would lose their star. But that would be a pain. We would probably just have to annex Puerto Rico or something to even it out.
Well, okay, I guess that's a possibility. But these things are getting more and more ridiculous. I think it was about 10 years ago, all the meteors that were supposed to destroy the Earth, and then before that it was Y2K, and I forget what it was before that. But
it was the ozone hole before that. It was acid rain before that. It was global cooling before that. It never ends. They're always trying to scare the crap out of you.
Yeah, the global warming hoax. But yeah, I'm 60 years old. This is like the 6th or 7th possible life-ending event that basically never materialized to, like what you said, an 8-inch wave. Okay. All right, whoa. I'm out. Y'all have a good day.
All right. Hey, great call, Scott. Thank you very much, sir. This is Ron in Stephenville. You're on WBAP.
Hey, James.
Hey, Ron.
I grew up in Southern California as a surfer, and we used to always go to a website called Surfline that we could look at the buoys that are out in the Pacific Ocean, and we could see what the swells are doing live. So we could determine where we were going to go surfing for the day. So the fact that they we're talking about when the wave actually hits the coast. NORA has the systems where you can watch the swells thousands of miles out to sea. So I don't understand how they're like going, well, we're going to have a tsunami when they can tell thousands of miles out to sea that there's no waves. Well, it makes no sense.
Yes, but if you carry this out to its full conclusion, you should reach the same end of the destination I reach. Why do we have government warning systems anyway? They have no incentive to get it right. They have no consequences if they get it wrong. And if they're going to overdo it like this, they're going to get people killed. You know who's more accurate when it comes to these meteorological predictions? We talked about this recently. Waffle House. Waffle House's meteorologist far more accurate than National Weather Service on whether or not you should shut down or what's going to be hardest hit or what utilities are going to be affected.
The only problem with Waffle House is in California there are none. So they don't have anybody that has a brain.
Well, you're still going to have... You're still going to have a lot of...
The last guy, with the egghead telling everybody that everything lies west of Las Vegas, nobody was even thinking about the fact that all the mountains separating California from Arizona are 8,000 to 10,000 feet tall. So what kind of tsunami would you have that could wipe out all of the high desert?
Well, I don't think he's correct in his prediction, but it seems like that's what would stop it and why it wouldn't go further in. I guess is their thought process there.
So I've never believed any of these things that they have, and we used to use the buoy systems to figure out where to go surfing for the day, where the biggest waves are going to be, because of the direction and the size of the swells of the buoys, thousands of miles out to sea.
Well, I also want people to remember in future James shows when other outlets are freaking out about some situation, I'm like, it's a whatever to me. This is why I'm so dismissive of other sensational stories. It's because I see too much of this.
Yep.
All right. Well, another great call. Thank you very much. That's Ron in Stephenville. If you want to put in your 2 cents on the overhyping of natural disasters and other warnings, too, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Like these people that call the cops on parents for letting their kid go to the park by themselves. Well, it's dangerous out there. No, it's not really that dangerous. You're not being a rational human being, and your overhyped, overprotective helicopter parent instincts are not making the world a better place. They're making the world a worse place. You know why so many kids have anxiety, much more so than previous generations? Because we taught them it's too dangerous to even walk outside of their front yard. The world is so dangerous and full of evil people who are just going to snatch you up and do horrible things to you. You're not even allowed to go to the end of the block without your parents hanging over you. This is Dana and Anna. You're on WBAP.
Hey, James, my comment's more on general warning systems. Remember a few years ago when Hawaii had that nuclear warhead that was headed their way and everybody got a notification on their phone? They don't want to be in a false alarm.
Yeah.
Just total craziness. It's like a nanny society. We can't, there's too much going on to kind of keep us safe for what?
Yeah, well, that one, it was a human error boo-boo. This one doesn't even count as that. This is I guess they're well-intended experts. I don't think they did this with malicious intent, but the incentive structure is for them to holler as loud and get as much attention as possible because there's no downside to them being wrong. And so I think, the lesson we learn here is don't be scared to take this out of the hands of government and put it back in the hands of the private sector. They will do a better job. They'll do it cheaper. They'll be a little more judicious. There will be negative consequences to them getting it wrong. And I think the government's just expressed in every industry that it's tried. It does a terrible, terrible job. And we've got to get them out of it.
Agreed. Love the show, man.
Well, thank you very much. Nice guy. All right, let's go to Paul and Hurst. You're next up on WBAP. Paul and Hurst,
Hello.
go.
Yes. So, what I know about tsunamis, and I guess I got it right, but the way I understood it was, as it's way out in the ocean, hundreds of thousands of miles, that wave is moving like 500 miles per hour. I mean, ships won't even know it, and it's not very tall. It's like what you're saying, a foot. And it goes so fast that ships won't even know it. But as it approaches land, then it slows down and it starts building a wall of water. But correct me if I misunderstood, but that's the way I interpreted it.
Well, for the big tall ones that happen, they go really fast, and there's a weird sort of drawback of water that we've all seen before the big wave actually comes in. And I'm not saying you're wrong in the mechanics of what happened here. It's just that it was so small, and the predictions were so far separated from what really happened when the wave got there, because the way they were making it sound like this is one of the strongest earthquakes ever measured. People are running to the high ground in Japan and Hawaii and Midway. It's scheduled to slam against the western coast of the United States about midnight. And they got 8 inches, bro. 8 inches.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, they're going to get people killed. Yeah. And, hey, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. I'm glad we're all being so mature about this because I don't know. Sometimes I do a topic like this and people call in. They're like, "You're crazy. We can't end the government warning systems." And I don't know. Just people don't even give it a thought. They just reflexively are contrarian. This is Justin and Melissa. You're on WBAP.
Hey, I was going to tell you, with all the warnings and stuff in that tsunami, I got a buddy of mine trying to come back from Maui, and he said he was texting us last night and said that the airport shut down and they were forced to sleep in the terminal. And to make matters worse, whenever they woke up this morning, the only carrier, the name that's much like the country's name, was the only one that did not have people to do tickets for the flight, and they would not let them use their tickets from the previous day. So they had to start the process all over again, but they were waiting for people to show up to work for this one particular airline.
Well, it destroys people's lives whenever you do these false alarms. I got really incensed by it for the brief time I had to live in New Orleans, because anytime there was any hurricane or tropical storm, we're going to evacuate the whole town and no one can stay behind. You're risking your life. No one's going to come for you. And nothing would happen. It would rain pretty hard. It would take a few hours for the water pumps to drain, because New Orleans has to drain manually. And for the few times that I did evacuate, I was so mad. It is expensive just taking off and going to another town, or because you miss work. Some people have to get a hotel. I usually stayed with family because I would just come back to Texas. And it got to where I ignored all of them. And so I actually waited out some hurricanes I shouldn't have waited out, just sitting around. Try going 6 days without electricity in the middle of August. See how that works out. But
I hear you, man. I was down in Louisiana for that when they hit Houma a couple years back, and it was super creepy to show up out there help my niece, and nothing has power on. It's super dark at night. There's no
air conditioning. Yeah, but I know your story's true. I know your story's true because you pronounced Houma correctly. All right, if you got any comments on the overhyping of these natural disasters, but it's not just natural disasters. This is the same mindset of helicopter parents. This is the same mindset of, like, some guy fussed me because my girl was going around in a little child's toy scooter, like a little Power Wheel, but it was a scooter, and she wasn't wearing a helmet. He goes, "Oh, you sure that's safe?" I was like, dude, I just duded him. And he's a grown man. He's probably a little bit older than I am. Oh, you think that's safe? I'll tell you what's safe. Shut up. That's what's safe. Marshall in Bedford. You're on WBAP.
I'd like to draw just one quick parallel. Same thing was with car alarms when they first came out. If you heard one going off, everybody was up in a stir. But now, if you hear one go off, everybody's just wishing they just shut the damn thing off. Man, you know what? 7 points. That's a perfect comparison. A touchdown. That's a full touchdown, extra point and everything. That's the perfect comparison. Yeah, because now car alarms are just a pain in the butt. I don't even know if they thwart crime. Well, they don't. And when they go off, they'll keep going on forever because the person who owns that vehicle, they don't even shut it off. But the other thing I was going to say with the overreach is, like, say, a rainstorm. They'll break into the weather, and then they keep going over and over and over for, hours at a time. And you're talking about overreach, and that's the whole point. Oh, man, especially on TV when you're trying to watch your show. And so what the job of the weather people is to sell the weather. That's their job, is selling the weather. Man, look, it's even worse than you think from behind the curtain over here, Marshall. We get so many warnings that are supposed to be emergencies that someone will check in on, whether it's Brad Barton or someone else in the news, and we don't pass them along because they are so flimsy and flippant. We don't want to erode our credibility or ruining the listening experience. Thank you very much, Marshall. All right, let's get back to this Sydney Sweeney deal. I would like for this to go away, but it's not going away. Here's Good Morning America talking about it yesterday.
Time to check the pulse. We begin with the backlash over a new ad campaign featuring actress Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, the ads are for American Eagle, and the tagline is, Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Now, in one ad, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed actress talks about genes as in DNA being passed down from her parents.
The play on words is being compared to Nazi propaganda with racial undertones.
The pun, good genes, activates troubling historical associations for this country. The American eugenics movement in its prime between 1900 and 1940 weaponized the idea of good genes just to justify white supremacism.
Despite that backlash, American Eagle stock has been soaring.
You see what he did there? The Eagle has been soaring with their stock. Well played, sir. You're going to get a laugh on top of that. I want to get some jeans now. You know why? Because all the backlash against it, that just makes me want to buy them more. If you're going to be this crazy over the top, if you're going to be this attuned to perceived, invented, imagined dog whistles, I want to see this company succeed just because it'll make these people even more mad. Check out this viral video.
Don't forget.
Oh, wait. This lady is standing in front. She's in a mall. She's in front of an American Eagle store. And there's a beautiful picture of Sydney Sweeney and some good looking jeans behind her.
Don't forget to boycott American Eagle.
No.
For their racist. They're racist online, talking about blue jeans and white people. Boycott American Eagle. Boycott the out of them. Boycott American Eagle. Do not buy them. And cancel this person, Miss Sweeney. Cancel for her being racist, for doing Nazi propaganda. Cancel American Eagle.
I have trouble with this because I want to find this woman and just get in front of her, and with no audience around, nobody recording it. So, try and get an honest answer out of her and go, lady, do you really think Sydney Sweeney is a Nazi? Do you really think this young lady thought, hey, I'm going to get this American Eagle jeans and I'm going to slip some Nazi propaganda into it? Or do you think American Eagle said, we're going to do some Nazi propaganda and we'll just rope in Sydney Sweeney? Do you think she's a dupe? Do you really think there's Nazis out there? Where are these Nazis? Are they in the room with you right now? Do you know the name Doja Cat? She has a couple of big songs. If you don't know her, your kids probably do. I'm kind of a fan, but here she is, affecting a Southern accent, pretty good too. Probably more of a Georgia Southern accent than a Texas Southern accent. That foghorn leghorn versus Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, it's kind of like that. But this is Doja Cat. Just imagine if Sydney Sweeney did her best black voice and mocking Doja Cat. Just imagine.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determined in traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Now, I'm not offended by that. That's pretty good Southern accent she's doing. I don't know where she's from or if she grew up around that, but I thought she nailed it. I thought obviously she's making a a racially angled joke, but I don't think it was racist necessarily. I think she's making fun of us, though. I don't think it worked. I mean, like I said, I'm not offended. But just imagine if the roles were reversed. What a sweet little Sydney Sweeney with her evil blonde hair and her evil blue eyes and her evil pale skin. What if she affected a stereotypical black voice and made fun of a Doja Cat quote? You think that would fly? You think that would be called racist? Of course. I told you she was a Nazi. But it's hilarious. In their reaction to fake racism, they give a racist reaction. It's adorable. Like, hey, I sure do hate people who are racist as I make a racist TikTok. Interesting move there, guys. Now I'm definitely getting some American Eagle jeans. All right, coming up next on the James Show, someone threw an adult toy on the court at a WNBA game. You'll hear the fun audio next. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.